you're going to have to score 130 points to beat the Mavericks.
I know first thing he said when he saw Kyrie going to Dallas was shit. I'm not no dick rider.
You make for some funny videos and getting ejected. And I hope the people that watch, he's out here tweeting like it's 2 a.m. and he's not getting a text back.
I'm coming back, motherfuckers. Y'all better believe it. When I come back, I'm coming back stronger.
Let me take you back, Sheed, to June 28th, 1995.
Sheesh.
What event occurred at the end of June? It's draft day in Toronto for Rasheed Wallace.
Right,
and Corliss Williamson's on this boat with you as well.
Everybody dreams and fortunes and
remember the shoot?
It's crazy.
Good luck
it's crazy. No, I don't remember that shit.
Good. I found
crazy
one.
how me and Corliss ended up being teammates.
Over the last couple months, we went through all the questions with the media. Where do they think we'll end up at? Who do you want to
Wow.
Look at you. So full of hope, ambition. A draft in Toronto too. That's an interesting one that they sent you north of the border for that. Must have been a nice day. You got look at you got the NBA shirt on, ready, not knowing. Did you know at this point that you were headed to Washington?
No, I didn't. And to be honest, I didn't know until they called my name. Because I know one place I wasn't going though was Philly. Because at the time, they had the third pick, and they were talking with my agent, and I told my agent, I was like, "Yo," I said, "Nah," I said, "No matter what," I said, "I'm not going home." I said, "So if they draft me, then it's going to be holdouts or whatever." But reason being, of course, I wouldn't have mind playing for the Sixers, but I couldn't have did that in the beginning of my career because one, I know I wasn't mature enough. I know I would have been out there in them damn streets and doing everything else that I wasn't supposed to be doing instead of focusing on basketball, which got me to where I was. So that's pretty much the main reason why I didn't want to go back home when I first got drafted and play for the Sixers. But throughout my career, as I learned the NBA and matured, I wouldn't have mind going home and playing.
Well, let me ask you this question, because we've seen videos of players that have thought they are going to be drafted high. They end up either sitting in the green room or in front of the camera, and they watch themselves fall place by place, and they might be there until pick 15, 17. You as a rookie coming into the league. Now, the context around asking this question is every time that you fall a place down, that's less guaranteed money. Right? Because the first overall pick makes more. So you want to go first because you make a lot of money. But are you more concerned at that point with the cash, or are you willing to give back what was probably at the time the equivalent of $200,000 in exchange for the right fit? Or are you just trying to hear your name called at all costs? Like, which of those did you fall in? Because everyone's different. But where were you that day?
To be honest, man, truthfully, I was happy and blessed and thankful to be there. But to hear my name called out there, it was never a dream. When I was a little boy growing up in Philly, it was never my dream to play in the NBA, become an NBA player. To be honest, learning to play basketball is something that I had to work at. It didn't come naturally for me. My natural sporting event was track and field. So. You can ask me stuff about that I know and history with that, but I had to learn how to play basketball. I had to learn how to dunk. I had to learn how to drop step. I had to learn how to play defense. And so when I was out there doing that when I was a youngin', it was fun. It was cool, but the way the way that I guess the way that things move now out here is a little different. I guess a lot of kids grow up more wanting to hear their name called. But when I was up there, no, it was definitely a blessing, like I said. And I wanted to go to a team where I could definitely help make a difference. And Washington Bullets at that time, they were teetering on the brink of like just missing the playoffs for a couple years by a few games, and then when you make that playoffs, getting ousted the first round. So they were in the middle of having their lumps, getting their lumps. And, I wanted to be part of that. But eventually I got traded and, it was all part of the business. But to hear my name called, it was exciting. And I think it really didn't hit me for real, yo, until I bought my mom her first crib. That's when it
That's
really hit
awesome.
me like, I'm in the NBA now, and I was able to buy my mom this home, and I just stood out in front of her house for about a good 10 or 15 minutes, man. I might have shed a tear or two in there too,
Oh
but
yeah.
that's when it really hit me, bro. Not even the night they called my name, not even the first practice, not even the press conference in Washington, but it really hit me that I was in the NBA when I got my mom that crib, yo.
The theme with you that I have found, and again, it's something I appreciate you the most, and I'm going to use this as a segue, is no matter what the situation is, you've always found a way to adapt because you see this as a profession. You just said it yourself. It wasn't your dream. It wasn't your passion to be an NBA player, but because you developed the skill, you eventually said, you know what? I'm going to do this because I'm good at it and I will enjoy it and it's beneficial for my family and bank account, friends, home. It checks all the boxes. And the reason why I'm repeating these things back to you is we said now fast forward to current day and we have a major blockbuster trade that has just occurred, which is Kyrie Irving being sent from Brooklyn to Dallas. And while we could sit here and turn an entire show into talking about how if the Mavericks just run high horns 30 feet away from the rim, how the hell are you going to guard that type of spacing? And while there is, right? Yeah, I mean, anyone that's played the game knows it's it's practically a double pick and roll. We could sit here and talk about that shit, which is, we will. But how do you look back at the KD Kyrie era? Is it unfulfilled, underachieved? What word would you use to describe it? And as the professional, the consummate professional the common denominator in all of your stories is, I may not like you, but I respect you because you're here putting in the work too. Do you feel like Kyrie Irving respects the game of basketball in your opinion, Sheed?
I do, because at the end of the day, you still have to show up for practice. You still have to show up to be able to be that maven of your craft. No matter if it's the team time when y'all in there together, or you taking some extra time before or after practice, or maybe even later in that evening to work on your craft. To get my jump shot together. All right, I know my baseline jump shots is fucked up. I can't shoot shit. All right, so I'm gonna get in the gym. All right, I'm gonna shoot some little 10 footers, 12 footers, 15 footers, 18 footers, all the way out to the three. But I'm gonna work on my craft to become better. And along with that, he knows what he's bringing to the table. Like it's a totally different thing when you're dealing with an athlete who is just either happy to be traded from a bad situation into a good situation or not, because excuse me, because the way it goes with him, it's like with him and KD, like I feel as though that was underachieved. They stepped up in a couple of big games. So somebody's
Yep.
hurt, or the things that was happening with Kyrie off of the court. But for him, one thing about a trade, though, I'll tell y'all this. One thing about a trade is always room for a fresh start. Okay, it's like getting a new job. That's the best way to put it. It's like getting a new job. Let's say you're working at. I'm just speaking hypothetically, y'all. I'm not saying anybody do, but let's just say that that you working at Wendy's. All right, no, now you working at Wendy's. You've been there for a minute, so you know the ins and outs, and you know how ignorant motherfuckers can be, and drive through and the inside, all of that. So now you got like, all right, I quit, or you got fired. So now you got a new job, working somewhere else. It could be 7-Eleven or the bank. So now, you feeling like, okay, I got a fresh start. Don't nobody here know my dirt, or, how fucked up of an employee that I might be. But it's a fresh start. It's a chance for a clean slate. And it's a chance for the fans in Dallas to go head to head against the fans in Brooklyn, because now it's like, okay, well, y'all saying that Kyrie is this and Kyrie is that. So now he has a chance to prove to the Dallas fans that I'm totally opposite of what these motherfuckers out here saying about me.
So we've spoken not specifically about Kyrie, but I've asked you in the past when you were traded from Portland to Detroit and the process of going about it. The story went on a little separate tangent for a second, as we discussed, or even things like Malice at the Palace. Just your philosophy, if I'm not mistaken, has always been don't bring that shit into the locker room. And when you show up here, no matter what you got going on in life, just do your job, which is admirable. And you have continuously reminded us that has been your philosophy. But the reason why I bring that up, Sheed, is because Kyrie has not done that. He has brought this shit into the locker room in the past, and it leaks into the public and the media, and it becomes a big deal. So while he is one of, if not the most talented guards I have ever seen in my life, right? There is no debating how good the guy is at the game of basketball, but it's not just your ability to dribble, shoot, score, and pass. There are all of those real world things that go on, including chemistry with your teammates. Yep. So as the man yourself, that is always just don't bring the shit to the locker room. If you were playing with Kyrie and this was happening in Brooklyn, what would you do about it? And if it excelled to the point that it was just uncontrollable, which this has been the case now a couple of times, what's the next step in the locker room as a player? How do you get through this if a trade does not happen? Because this may happen with the Mavericks.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing that needs to happen is he has to sit down and, of course, talk with Mark, talk with Jason, and talk with Nico, the GM. That's the meeting that he has to have with them. Like, look, okay, I understand that things went on in Brooklyn, this and that, blase, blase. So after that meeting, now you have to go to the man on the team, Luka. So now you and Luka, y'all go out to lunch because now you're going to want him to have an add-on, you know what I'm saying, and to get over that hump that y'all haven't been able to do for the last couple of years. But now I'm here. We're going to help get over that hump. And, man, let's do this shit. Bottom line. Anything, and first and foremost, I apologize when I went to Detroit and, I had a meeting with the team. I let them know, like, look, I'm sorry. I'm bringing a lot of shit with me as far as the technicals and everything and the referees not liking me and vice versa. I said, so y'all going to get a lot of unfair calls. So now, fast forward to the whole Kyrie situation too. Yeah, he has to have that talk with, with the guys on his team. Like, look, it's a lot of shit. A couple of refs don't like me, this and that, blase, blase. But if we go out here, we stick together. I got y'all back. This is something new. I got y'all back. Y'all got my back. Let's do this.
All right. So that's step one. Then they're going to have to play actual basketball at some point. Yep. And from a basketball point of view here, I think this is going to work with the two of them because Jalen Brunson and Kyrie Irving have a lot of similarities between the two, like being Luka's Robin, if you consider Luka the Batman. When Kyrie Irving has been the second best player on the team, I'm thinking about the LeBron James Cavs. That's when he's at his best. I don't know if Kyrie can be the best player on your team and win a championship that way, but that's not meant to be a diss. There are players that I've alluded to.
Yeah, not at all.
No, like a Dwayne Wade, a Scottie Pippen, a Kyle Lowry. When they've been the man, they don't get to the promised land. But when they become the secondary option, they're at their absolute best. So now with Jalen and Luka proving that the two of them together could make the Western Conference Finals with not a whole lot around them, now you upgrade that to Kyrie playing off of Luka and creating space, which, you know what, I think is probably the most valuable form of currency in today's game of basketball is if you have guys that create space. Because Lord knows Luka's going to be seeing a lot less double teams. Triangle in twos, 1-3-1s deep. So we were joking around before running high horns, but now I'm thinking of a world that what if Kyrie has the ball, Luka comes up and sets a little high horn slip screen and he blitzes this. You're going to have to score 130 points to beat the Mavericks. I'll worry about the defense later because tell me what you think when you have two offensive players that when Kyrie is motivated and he's engaged, easily a top 5 offensive player in the NBA, hands down, just in terms of talent. Right. And you got the two of them on the floor. So with the experience and the context that I just gave you of Jalen Brunson being a perfect secondary option that has been proven to work, and Kyrie having a lot of similarities. How do you see this playing out, given that Kyrie says, let's go, let's do this?
I think it could work out good for him. Everyone's like, okay, well, Luka's a ball hog. Luka has to have the ball in his hand at least 90-95% of the time for him to be effective. And now you throwing Kyrie in there. Well, Kyrie, he needs to have the ball in his hands to be effective and this and that. Well, I think Kyrie is smart enough, as one is that point guard, two is the veteran player, to know, like, all right, well, now it's even better for me because here's my thing. Kyrie has proven that he could play off of the ball. Mm-hmm. Kyrie has proven that, like, I don't necessarily need the ball to, you know what I'm saying, to mix it up and to put you in the blender and then get my shot off. No, I could give it to somebody else and, you know, come off a weave screen or something and catch it and put it up, catch it, 2 dribbles and put it up, whatever. Now, the one thing that we would have to see Luka do more is play off of the ball. And I think he would have to do that a little bit more, like with Kyrie, like you said with Jalen Brunson. You know, since Jay left, you know, of course, Luka's taking up all the motherfucking shots and this and that, and he's not getting set up as much. You know, when Jay had that ball, it was like, all right, we can run that pick and roll with Luka. So you don't know if I'm going to go ahead and dump that to him for the slip, dump that to him for the 3, or take it myself. So now, with Jay having that real point guard out there, Luka was able to spot shoot and get better shots, more of a better shot selection. So I think that's what's going to happen with Kyrie. Kyrie's going to come. He's a setup point guard first. He's going to make sure, all right, you there, come down, boom, 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 pass it. And, you know, if you make the shot, you make the shot. If you don't, you know, you don't. He's not going to be like, oh, you ain't make that shit. I ain't passing to you no more. No, he's a point guard. You know, it's part of the game. So I think it's just going to help both of them out. You know, it's going to help Kyrie on and off of the court because, again, like I said, he has a chance to show the Dallas fans that, look, this is a different Kyrie. Because, again, that's how it was for me when I got traded from Portland to Detroit. In Portland, a lot of people saw me, oh, he's the attitude, you know, Mr. Technical, you know, he's the walking tech king, blase, blase. Okay, so now I had that whole persona in Portland. When I got traded to Detroit, I had to fix it. So what did I do? Just went out there and played ball, just, you know, did my regular community service things, and now it's more of a good rapport for me in Detroit than it was for when I played in Portland. And it's the same thing for Kyrie. He's going to have a better rapport in Dallas than he did in Brooklyn.
I wouldn't say it's an identical parallel, but as you were speaking there, I started to think about your experience playing with the Pistons and Chauncey, Rip, and Tayshaun. While they're not the usage percentages that Kyrie and Luka currently are in terms of getting up 30 shots a night, those were 3 guys that were very good offensive players, but also needed the ball in their hands. Tayshaun maybe not so much, but the 3 of them need the ball in their hands to score buckets at some point. And a good team will always find a way to have balance. Doesn't need to be equal, but balance in terms of someone has it that night. And your role, as you've always said, is I'll do whatever you need me to. If I need to go out and have a career high in points, I'll do it. If you want me to play some defense, I'll do it. So I didn't include you in that just based on your own explanation of it. But since you had those all-star players all on that same team that could all get buckets at any time, being in those huddles, now different personalities as well, but if they're all feeling it that night, what do those timeouts look like, Sheed, in which everyone's looking at each other and we're down by 1 with 15 seconds left and determining who gets the play drawn up for them, who's demanding the ball? Is it okay for a player to be like, I want this shit? What if Chauncey was like, no, I'm Mr. Big Shot, I'm taking it. Can you take me through what those situations are like? Because I imagine they're going to happen now with Kyrie and Luka.
Well, from the point guard standpoint, and again, I'm not a point guard, so it's outside looking in from what I saw when I played with different point guards. So with Chauncey, it's like, if you got the hot hand, like, okay, say we all had it going. You know, we all were shooting pretty good that night. So then it breaks down to, okay, who has the worst defender on them? That's who's going to end up with the shot. So, you know, no matter if you're running a pick and roll, you know, 1-5 high, 1-4 high, if you're running the side pick and roll, fifth side, whatever, you're going to end up with the ball in the hands of the guy with the poorest defender on him. And because it'll be an easier shot. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's use the Spurs, for example. So we know Tim Duncan's a good defender. So Tim Duncan, let's say he would be on me. And then, Ginobili would be on, let's say, Rip. Tony Parker would be on Rip. Ginobili would be on Chauncey. And Bruce Bowen would be on Tayshaun. So, and let's just say they had, Mike Giblet in there at the 5 to guard Ben because they looking at Ben as no offensive threat. Well, for us, the way that we're going to do it, we're going to mix that play up. We're going to set certain screens to the point where the guy Mike Giblet, who's guarding Ben, he's going to be guarding either me, Tayshaun, Rip, or Chauncey. On a screen, backdoor cut, somehow, some way. You always got to try to go with that odds. Now, of course, we all know the simple shit. If the one dude got it going, look, y'all 3 motherfuckers better get him open because I'm going to get him this ball so we can go ahead and win this game. But, now it's coming to the point with them, it's pick your poison. Because now you can't, like you said, it ain't going to be them double and triples on Luka now. Because even though the Dallas Mavericks have a couple shooters, already on that team, but it's just a matter of now, shit, I got Kyrie. So that's just, to me, making them a little bit more dangerous, like pick your poison. Because you can't leave, like, Reggie Bullock wide open because Reggie will knock that down. You know what I'm saying? You got other guys on the team that can shoot. So I think it might work out in Dallas' favor, in my opinion. That's just from the point guard standpoint.
If Kyrie shows up to play basketball, I think from an actual X's and O's standpoint, it will work. And Luka, especially at the playoffs approach here, he was going to be seeing double teams and triple teams. He was still going to get his numbers, but there was a diminishing return if you keep pounding away. And there was a low ceiling. Despite Luka's brilliance, you can really only go so far against good teams that are going to have defenses designed, and you got to beat them 4 out of 7 times. You add a talent like this, you sacrifice some defense and Dorian Finney-Smith, but we'll eventually get there. I think with the Mavericks that they're not done doing deals. When the trade deadline is over, we'll see what their roster looks like, but they have raised their ceiling and their potential. It's a little bit of a risk. Absolutely. It's Kyrie. We know all the intangibles and things that come along with him, but if that man is motivated to play, I think from the experience that Sheed has had with the Pistons being in those huddles, Kyrie will be more than happy to either say, yeah, I'll do it, or, oh, no, Luka, let's get him open. Let's set a screen here, do this, whatever. And I'm thinking about that. There was this moment this season from Toronto where KD, they had the cameras because they were filming an episode of some behind-the-scenes Brooklyn Nets, and they have the camera in there drawing up the game-winning play for Kyrie, but it was originally drawn up for KD. And you hear KD, he looks at the whiteboard and he says, no, let's do that same thing, but for Kai. And then they set it up for Kai. He goes out there and hits the buzzer beater game winner. And I'm like, man, if Kyrie just if he was attached to earth, for a consistent period of time, man, it should work. It really should. But we've been saying this Lord knows how many times. And there's another man in this whole equation who was left at the altar. He's out here tweeting like it's 2 a.m. and he's not getting a text back. The man, LeBron James, who's saying, maybe it's me. Just a couple of moments after Kyrie gets traded, not to the Lakers. We saw him allude to it when he was asked. He said, duh, to an extent. Of course, he wants to play alongside Kyrie now because he needs his talent. He sees the same thing that the Mavericks did, that this man needs some help. And ultimately, LeBron does not get Kyrie. The Lakers are still stuck in the same situation. I don't really, because we've done it so many times, we don't need to cover that again. But we are now approaching a week here, Sheed, in which LeBron is going to be breaking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career points, ever record, whatever it's technically called. In addition to that, trade deadline, in addition to that, the Lakers are still in 13th place, even though the Western Conference is all jumbled up. How do you put this? How can you make sense of this for us, man? I'm going to trust you with this. Not that you need to know LeBron personally, but he's got some major records that he's going to break. He didn't get his way with a trade for now. What to look forward to? It feels like days of our lives, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. But again, it's the Lake Show. It's always something out there, with the Lakers, even before this team. So that goes back to the 80s. But yeah, he's in a tough situation because now I know first thing he said when he saw Kyrie going to Dallas was shit. Now they in my conference. So I know what type of player he is. I know what he's going to bring to this team to make them better and shit. Now I got to deal with him in this conference. So it could come down to maybe a game or two later in the season where they playing Dallas. Like, look, we might have to win this game to get into the playoffs. Before, you feeling more confident, but now since they got Kyrie, it's like, shit, like, damn. So, that's one thing I know he's probably saying. Probably would have been better for him and worked out for him if Kyrie would have got traded to an East Coast team. But
True.
I think that's one thing that he was thinking about for sure, was definitely looking at that Kyrie thing. And it's part of it, but like I said, he's focused on the Kareem record, but I think, in my opinion, he's more focused on making these playoffs. Yeah, granted, breaking Kareem's record is fucking major. All right, let's say that first off and foremost. It's fucking major. But it's like going out there, as we just alluded to earlier in some broadcasts. It's like going out there and I'm having 80 points and we lose.
Yeah.
So here it is. I broke Cap's record, the greatest fucking scorer of all time in NBA history. I broke his record by how many ever points, in the regular season, but we didn't make the playoffs. So it's like, fuck. So now, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it puts a little somewhat of a dampener on your celebration.
Yeah, I hope the way we're headed right now, Sheed, with the projections, is it's going to probably come against the Milwaukee Bucks, who are certainly not going to be laying down. Giannis is going to be out there, Chris and Drew. This game's on national television. Mm-hmm. The Lakers are sitting in 13th place, and it takes me back to that time that the Boston Celtics had the audacity to wait until after the game to retire Paul Pierce's jersey, and they were playing the Cavs that day on national TV. The Cavs embarrassed them. You have LeBron on the court, like throwing bottles and pointing and laughing at everyone, and Paul Pierce is sitting over there. Just let this game end, and they're down by 50, and the whole moment was ruined. So the Lakers need to start winning some games. Otherwise, this is just going to go down as an achievement that we'll remember for 24, 48 hours, because the Lakers are a bigger story because they suck. And I don't want that to be the case, because to your point, this is a major deal. I don't want this to be the most famous shot that is not remembered, like Marcus Page in the national championship. That would have been talked about for the rest of eternity, but some dude decided to hit a buzzer beater so no one will ever remember it. I don't want people to forget the achievement of LeBron breaking this record. And before we move on from this topic, by the way, that Kareem's got this number without a three-point line, and they tried to ban dunking on him because he broke the game of basketball, and he still got to this number without the ability to do either of those things. That's why he's my GOAT. I know he's your GOAT too, and a lot of younger people that were not alive for Kareem, he's a myth to a lot of people, but you get to that number without threes? That shit's crazy.
And shit, you thinking what? We talking, is it 32 years he's been retired? I think. When did Kareem retire? In what, like the early 90s? Something like that?
I thought it was late 80s or something. Yeah, around there.
Same. It's at least 25 to 30 years on that motherfucking record where he didn't play, and we had a lot of great scorers who couldn't catch him. Mike was a great scorer. Kobe was a great scorer. AI was a great scorer. We had a lot of great scorers in our time in between, from when Cat retired and, when Bron does break that record. It's been a lot of scoring motherfuckers in between there, yo. And like you said, that just goes, in my opinion, too, it goes more to the credit to Cat. Like, he did this shit without a three-point line. He did it's all, and got three the old-fashioned way, and one. So then, when they did bring a three-point line in, I do remember him taking the sky hook from the corner and banging that joint out for the three. I said, damn. This motherfucker right here, the most unstoppable shot ever. That sky hook, you can't stop it, man.
They thought by banning dunking for a little while that it would level the playing field against Kareem. Mm-hmm. But Kareem was so good. Okay, I'm going to now invent an even more unstoppable shot than me dunking, which is these running sky hooks from 16 feet away. People are looking up at him like there's aliens up in the sky. I've been seen from Men in Black where the outfielder's looking up and the ship's going by. What the fuck am I supposed to do with that? He's all the way up there throwing the ball over his head. No one had ever seen that shit before. The same way Steph Curry comes out here and pulls from 35 feet. No one had seen that before. That was the original, Steph Curry breaking the game of basketball. Kareem broke it first. So that's a GOAT conversation for another day. And also, what a segue by myself, leading us into the Steph Curry portion of the programming now. That Steph Curry, we have news that he's got a pretty significant injury that is going to keep him out for at least a month. I mean, thankfully, one of the weeks is going to be the All-Star break, but the Warriors are in a little bit of trouble here. They're safely, for now, above the play-in tournament cut line and all that, but the Western Conference is separated by 3 games from 4th place all the way down to 13th. So a little losing streak that these Warriors are one of the worst teams in the entire league when it comes to playing on the road. And at home, it's usually because Steph catches fire. Steph, as we all know, is a major, major part of this team. So I want to hear from you, Sheed, what you think the Warriors are going to have to do to keep their heads above water. Because as easy as it is for me to say, just have Jordan Poole what Steph Curry does. He's actually been, somewhat decent doing that. And the Warriors are a system. They plug in place. You figure that they're going to be okay. But do you think they're going to be okay? Can they still stay above 500? And what about the Warriors' offense is going to change with Steph Curry gone?
I don't think it'll change too much. You got to look at the team. The nucleus of that team are the champions. It's Steph, Clay, and Dre. As long as Draymond is there and healthy in this time that Steph is out, and long as Clay is healthy in this time that Steph is out, I don't think too much is going to change with that team. They still get up and down. And granted, I'm not saying that Steph isn't a big part of that, because we all know he is, but it's just there again, somebody else is going to have to step up. So Jordan Poole is going to have to be more consistent. The 6th or 7th man who's backing up Poole is going to have to be consistent now. You're going to have guys step up to take Steph's place, not necessarily to the point where I'm going to go out here and try to get 30, but hey, I got to hit some open shots and I got to make the defense respect me. But I don't think too much of their offense is going to change, because they still do the whole push the ball up. If I can't get the quick 3, then we're going to hit somebody and let's run around them, come off some screens, come off some loose balls for a handoff, for a corner 3, for a 3 out top. It's still going to be the same offense that they got.
Steph just provides such an unprecedented dynamic, Sheed, that, it's a luxury to have Jordan Pooles of the world, luxury to have some of the talents that they do. And the Warriors are known for being such a different form of basketball that anyone else plays, that, you play against the Warriors. It's a completely different film room. It's a completely different scout. You gotta practice rotations differently. The ball's rarely touching the floor. We're talking about pin down to mid pick and rolls here to post splits. They throw a whole kitchen sink of different shit at you. So, but that's always, what's always the foundation of their offense is that Steph Curry is out there putting pressure on your defense to guard somebody 35 feet away from the rim. So when that dynamic is gone, you can start to do things like we see a pick and roll here in Denver that's being set what looks like at the logo, and the Denver Nuggets know in this series, we got to go over the screen 40 feet away in case this fucking guy pulls. So that dynamic changes. They start going into more drop coverage and under, because you know what? Jordan Poole's a good shooter, but we're certainly not going to treat him like Steph. No, not good as Steph. So while I'm challenging you just out of sake of creating content here, but when you say, the Warriors offense will just pick up kind of where it left off, my rebuttal to that would be there's no one on this planet that can create spacing. The reason why the Warriors are able to run around and just do whatever the fuck they want is because they have all the space in the world because of Steph. He's not out there. So you're telling me like Jordan Poole's just got to be that good? How do they just continue to do this for the next month without that man and fall into a 10-game losing streak?
They got to do it. Again, they ain't got no choice. But they had a caliber of players to go out there and do it, though. Again, shit. Klay Thompson ain't no chop suey. They ain't, he ain't no chump out there on that wing. He can knock that shit down too. He's been I think this year so far 7 threes in a game. I think 7 or 8 threes in a game. So you got to respect that. And you are right. Steph does open the floor more. But now there's going to have to be more people involved in this Warriors win, because it's going to have to be about about 2 or 3 guys that's going to have to make up for Steph's 30 points. So if they can get that consistently night in, night out, one guy getting 8 or 12 and, another guy getting 8 or 12 or 16 or something like that. The people that they got coming in for Steph, Jordan Poole has to have a good night. Not necessarily got to go out there and get 30, 35, but you got to have at least 15, 16 points. And because you got to keep the defense honest. Because now look at it. Steph not out there, so we don't have to double on these pick and rolls no more. Shit, we know we live and die with Draymond shooting, so we ain't got to do that shit no more. But when Steph is out there, yeah, we, like you said, you got one man, his defender got to go over the screen. The big man, he has to go under and try to meet him at the top to get that ball out of his hands. If he doesn't do that, then Steph could come off shooting or come with that pass. But now you got Jordan Poole. It shrinks the floor a little bit. It gives the defense a little bit more confidence. But again, you still have Klay Thompson, who's one of the most dangerous shooters in the league right now.
I mean, in these video cut-ups that we're watching while Sheed discusses his thoughts, I'm seeing a whole bunch of examples of things like pin downs, and I see elevator screens in there, just ways to free up Steph the same way that they tried to free up Rip on your team, and they tried to free up Ray Allen back in the day. You see that dude running a mile each play, just going through. That's the movement, right? That's the movement that's required for an offense like this, and the luxury that you usually have because Steph Curry is creating space for that to happen. You can't just run around like that if you're on any other team. You have this Lakers squad where they got a clogged toilet there in the paint. You're just running around aimlessly. This is the antithesis of that. So I think the bottom line here for them to survive is that they continue to get these same looks somehow that they were. I don't know how that happens. Everyone knows what a DHO is. Everyone knows what high horns and pin downs and elevator screens is. NBA players are smart, man. They know the game of basketball at this point if they've made it this far. So it's going to be very rare to come up with a set, even if you're the Warriors, right? That is going to surprise the other team. So it's ultimately, you got to just make buckets. And these Warriors now, it starts with getting the quality of looks is going to be their biggest challenge now that their biggest floor spacer is out. That's all. And that's where I stand on it.
But here's the other thing with that, though, Wob. Now, he's out. He's going to miss the All-Star game and all that. That's all for the NBA reasons. But here's the thing that people going to have to remember, too. He's going to come back. He's going to come back with fresh legs. He's not going to have – he's probably averaging, probably about like 400 or 500 minutes a month. He's going to be fresh now. Going into the playoffs. So I don't think the Warriors will drop too far in the first 8 as far as their rankings with the Western Conference and the playoff spots, automatic playoff spots. I don't think they'll drop too far. But the thing to see is when this dude comes back and he's going to be fucking shooting the lights out the gym because he's going to have fresh legs. He's going to be running around a million miles a minute, like you just said, coming off his screens, pin downs, triples, doubles, horns. All of this, you're gonna have to do something about it. So I think that's the other thing that you could look at as far as the silver lining when it comes to injuries. Like, all right, yeah, I'm down and out right now. My team, we might be losing a couple games, this and that, but I'm coming back, motherfuckers. Y'all better believe it. When I come back, I'm coming back stronger.
Let's use this as an opportunity because it's going to be a lot on Steve Kerr to manage Jordan Poole's efficiency. We know Jordan Poole's going to get volume, but that doesn't always equate to efficiency and production. Steve Kerr has always been able to manage these waters. Sometimes he does get into hot water with his own fan base because he will continue to run the Steph Curry offense when Steph Curry is not there. And the fans are like, bro, you don't have Steph Curry anymore. Can we go back to a more traditional, maybe pick and roll to get somebody open? It changes everything. But I knew you wanted to say something about Steve Kerr as the player, the coach. I mean, how many rings? He might end up with more rings than Phil Jackson at this point when you combine both. Or Bill Russell, when it comes to winning that amount of rings as both a player and a coach by the time his career is over. Right. But despite catching very recency bias flack for when Steph Curry goes down and the Warriors struggle, I just want to hear it from you. Like, this is the respect the game portion of the show in which you got to remind everyone he was more than just a coach back in the day. I mean, he was a player
Oh,
right
for
around the
sure.
same time as you, right?
What a lot of people are saying now is yeah, Steve Kerr, the bad back coach. That's all they saying right now are the Warriors. But no, Steve Kerr, he was a good player, man. He was solid, solid shooter. Won I think 2 chips with Chicago. Won 2 chips with San Antonio, and got the 4 chips with Golden State as the coach. So with him, Steve Kerr was always a dangerous shooter. He's one of the ones that I mentioned earlier. I don't have to touch the ball a lot. All I gotta do is touch that motherfucker one time, and if I get them strings, them seams lined up on these fingers, it's a wrap. And he also had a big shot. It's a highlight clip of MJ and as you alluded to the KD saying no, let's get it for Kyrie. Was the play that Phil Jackson's like, all right, MJ, we're gonna have you come and take the shot. And then what did he tell Steve Kerr? Like, look, I'm gonna come off this screen. You just be ready because I'm about to hit you. Came off that screen, hit Steve Kerr for that important 3, and they went on to win the championship. And so for him, what they're about to go through again, as you alluded to with Steph being out, he can be able to get around that. He has the wherewithal because he's been in those situations too. So when you're that coach, you have to sort of take some of your playing experiences and put that into some of your coaching experiences as well. So for me, this week the respected game player is Steve Kerr, and I respect him as a player. He was a former teammate of mine in Portland for about a year or two, and it's funny. He actually helped me hone in my 3-point shot because sometimes after practice, when guys just getting shots up. So one day I'm like, well, fuck it, let me go out here and shoot with Steve then. And he's knocking these shits down. I'm like, damn. I'm like, all right, I gotta knock him down too. So he helped me with my focus on becoming that 3-point shooter. And he low key's a little funny too. He got some jokes too. But Steve Kerr, he's a good dude.
Well, now you got me curious. What were some of the tips that he gave you? Is it you're standing by a rack, just relentlessly 25 shots at a spot at a time, or is he giving you technique? Your technique was already on point when telling me about holding the gooseneck because the girl next door was telling you to do it. But so I'm always interested in how you learn that shot because again, I'm always going to refer to you and Sam Perkins as the first of your, at least that era of the big man that stretched the floor. And you had to not only have the ability, but gain the confidence of yourself and the coaching staff and your teammates. They frowned upon Patrick Ewing stepping outside the 3-point line. Hakeem and David Robinson were really the only names that were big men allowed to shoot threes. If you put a 3 up, that shot clock buzzer better be going off. Otherwise, yeah. Why are you doing that shit? But someone had to break the mold. And now that we see every center in the league, it's almost a requirement that you have to shoot threes. That was not the case about 25 years ago. So you're in this gym with Steve Kerr. He's banging these things out. He's at this point proven to be a guy that can make them in the biggest spots under the brightest lights. How do you approach Steve? I mean, I know you're your boys and your teammates, but like, hey, I'm trying to learn how to shoot threes, man. And what did he say? He just turns around and goes, all right, grab a ball. Is it as simple as that?
Well, no, it was more of a challenge first. It was more of a challenge. But what he actually told me, though, it was something that I knew, but he helped me focus and hone in on it more. And what it was, okay, so if I'm out on the wing or in a corner or anywhere, shooting a jump shot or 3, what we normally do as ball players, when that defender is running at you, you're looking at the defender. Like, you're going to look at him first, and then you're going to raise or go by him. The one thing that he told me always is like, look, he said, shit. he said, I'm a white boy. He said, I can't jump. He said, I ain't that athletic. But he said, I can shoot. And what I focus on is the rim. He said, you got guys running at him, flailing their arms, saying all this crazy shit. But he said, you focus on, it's like a foul shot. He said, you focus on that rim, focus on that back part of that rim, and you just got to take whatever comes after that. If it's a foul or sometimes the guys undercut you, step in front of your landing spot and all of that. You got to take that. But he said, focus on that rim and then you'll knock them down more. You won't even be looking at. You won't even notice the defender coming at you. And I was like, all right. And it does help in some situations, especially when you're dealing with. At my point, as I got older, I dealt with more, athletic power forwards. Because as I got older, my vertical and all that shit wasn't as high. So that's when it turned in. That's when it kicked in for me. Because now it's like, okay, I can't just depend on me sitting up here jumping over a motherfucker. So now let me go ahead, get that early one going, boom, knock it down. Okay, thanks, Steve. You know what I'm saying? So it was fun though. It was cool. Steve Kerr, cool dude.
Who won the challenge?
Oh, he won shit. I mean, damn. He's a 3-point champion and all that stuff. So he won. But I gave him a run for the money, man. Him and the same thing with Ray Allen when I played in Boston. I gave Ray a run for his money, but he was just too good of a shooter though.
Now I'm thinking about when they sent you out there to guard Pau Gasol in the finals for 30 minutes. I mean, you need at that point in your career, that's one of your last years that you need the ability to bring Pau out of the paint and shoot threes, which is why I think you were on the floor at that time. I think it was 2008, 2009. We're slowly getting to the big men are starting to shoot threes, but that was not prevalent by any means. So you being out there,
it was frowned upon.
Yeah, like but you had the pass. You had the pass on Boston for sure, and you had the pass in Detroit. Mm-hmm. No one was frowning at you for shooting threes, but they would be frowning at Ben Wallace. They'd be frowning at and pretty much any other big man. But you had to earn that pass, right? You were literally and figuratively a trailblazer in that regard. So. I just, thinking out loud, every time we have these conversations, I get enlightened to how Sheed became a thing. Your reputation amongst an 18-year-old that didn't watch the game back then is you make for some funny videos and getting ejected. And I hope the people that watch, right? I mean, I don't blame them because that's a big, part of your career.
No, it's true. It's true.
No, it's true. And you make good content. So that's a good thing. But there was actually a basketball version of Sheed that is responsible for some of these things we're talking about. He learns from Steve Kerr. And every time I probe a little bit, I get these stories about, we sat in a gym and we just shot balls off a rack until I could beat this dude. But you know what? That's why we do the program. So this, I wanted to give you, I see the shirt that you're wearing and the hat that you're wearing, and we're filming this during Super Bowl week. And you know what I get a lot? Because I'm on Twitter and I have to be the shield for you because I'm tweeting out the content. All my mentions when I put out the video and they see that you're wearing Chiefs stuff, especially now with them playing the Eagles, is how is the golden child, the number one son of Simon Gratz out here wearing a Kansas City hat and shirt when you should be the front man for the Eagles? So I want to give, for my own sake, so I don't have to read these comments anymore, we've discussed this off camera, but can you let the people know how Rasheed Wallace, the man from Gratz, became a Kansas City Chiefs fan?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's simple. It's simple. So back when I was younger, growing up, they had children's programs on Sunday morning TV. So, I used to watch my TV shows or whatever. I'm in Happy Land. So about 15, my mom, she had the only TV in the house. That's how we grew up. She had the one TV in her bedroom. So about 15, she's turning to the pregame. She wants to see this and see that and get in her football mode. So I'm sitting at the edge of the bed. I'm pouting. I don't want to watch this, but shit, it's too cold to go outside and play. It's the only TV in the house, so I'm like, fuck it, I might as well, go ahead and watch it. So I always cheered. She was an Eagles fan, and I always cheered for everybody else against the Eagles. So as I got older, in high school, and I learned the different divisions and conferences, like, all right, I've always liked individuals, even some Eagles. I've always liked individuals. So I like Joe Montana. He got traded to Kansas City. Nobody I knew in the state of Pennsylvania was a Kansas City fan. So I'm not no dick rider. So I'm not just going to become like at that time when I was growing up, the Eagles was good. The Cowboys was good. You talking about the 90s. Pittsburgh was good. You had a lot of these good teams. The Giants was good. Like no, I don't want to just join the bandwagon with all these teams. That's some nut shit. Nah, I'm gonna go ahead and get a team that nobody got. Boom, and I chose the Kansas City Chiefs. And the first 2 years Joe Montana was there, we went to the playoffs. Then it was about 15 years, 10, 15 years after that where we didn't. And then, you know, we would sporadically make it with Alex Smith, but now we're consistently making it with Pat Mahomes. So that's how I became a Chiefs fan. You know, I love every other Philly team. I love my Sixers. I love my Flyers. You know, I love my Philly Wings, and I love the lacrosse teams, all that, the arena football, all that. I love Philly, but I'm just not a Pigeons fan.
All right. Oh, God. Now you're going to get me in trouble. You did so well there. Now I'm going to have to defend the Pigeons. All right. Well, there you go, folks. If you're interested as to why Rasheed is rooting for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, being from Philadelphia, you've heard it from the man himself. And I think we'll probably call it on that note. You got a big week ahead of you. And for those of you watching,
Yes.
It's just another day in the NBA. By the time we come back and do this next week, Kyrie could maybe be on a different team. The Nets have traded Kevin Durant. Who knows at this point? But this is why we watch. We'll be here to react to it all and hopefully give you a little bit of a different perspective that maybe you weren't watching this alive for, or I didn't know personally. You know, I like doing this show and doing it for you guys because I get to ask, you know, someone that I grew up watching things that I didn't even. This is like one long press conference that's also you're kicking it up and chilling at the bar. So it's a unique type of way for me to dig a little bit and learn things about the game, and I hope you learned something too. So for this episode of That's What She'd Said, Roscoe Rasheed Wallace, Rob Perez, see you next time.
And we're out of here.